So basically, what we did is, and I'm doing this again for the people that just got in class. We took a bunch of comic pages and we sketched them out so they were simple shapes. All right. We put in word bubbles, narrative boxes. We tried to make it look like a bird's eye if it was a bird's eye, a worm's eye if it was a worm's eye. You get the idea. Now you're going to grab one of those, the one that you think would be the easiest to take and make a little one-page story out of, and you're going to use it to create a one-page story. All right, so let me bop over my camera so I can give you an example. It looks pretty good. So this is the page that I took all my simple shapes from, and I think, well, those are the only two in this book. But okay, so I simpled out his head, his form. I simpled out Kitty Pryde here, and I just left them as stick figures. Basically the exact same as if I busted into a bunch of panels and was like, okay, here's the head, here's the shoulder, here's the spine, here's this oddly small leg, here's his rib cage, boom, 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 boom. And the last time that we were together, you were supposed to start adding details to these guys. Eventually, you're going to take those word bubbles and fill those in. Now, do you have to leave everything exactly as it was originally sketched out? No, you might decide to change the angle of an arm. You know, maybe this arm's going across the front like so. If that's the case, before you put your details on, make your changes. If this character is supposed to have two heads, sketch in that other head. All right. Whatever you're going to need to do to make your characters out of these simple shapes that we sketched last time, that's what you do. Now, in this one, I started adding my characters from my book series. All right. So I've got Lynx, who I created when I was in middle school. So I probably stole a lot of Lynx from Wolverine. He's obviously got the long hair or the high sideburns, except his are even longer. He doesn't have claws, but he's a deadly assassin, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, Lynx is nice and stocky. So in this one, I made Lynx this main guy. My main character, Traven, the Keeper of the Gateway, is a little more body type like Spider-Man, smaller. So I took my figure of Kitty Pryde, and since I left her genderless, I basically used that pose to draw my character over. All right. Left them with all the stuff I got in the comic. Now, is this completely drawn? No. There's a lot more I got to do here. But if you only created one character back in October, or you hate your character and you're going to start with a brand new character, here's some advice. When you draw your head for the first time, note what's different about that head. If he's got a real big bird-like nose that's got a weird break in it like this, I would probably go through all the heads and draw that nose first so I don't forget that that is a defining trait of my character. All right. If his eyes are kind of weird and almost hollow, like there's no pupil in them, and there's no good reason for for me drawing him like that, except that's how I drew him since I was in middle school. You just go and you draw your eyes that way. All right. By doing that, it makes it a little more consistent, and you get used to drawing your character's facial features better. All right. Like I can pretty much draw this mask in my sleep at this point. All right. There are word bubbles here. I would do all my drawing of my characters in my background first before I assess the word bubbles. Here's why. As you are drawing this characters, you're going to be thinking about what is going on here in this drawing. All right. This guy's bursting through the doors. This guy's going, wait up. They're having some kind of conversation between them. He looks angry. He turns to him. He points to the solution to that anger is behind this door. And I don't know what that is yet. You know, did they was he after a suspect and they caught the guy who done him wrong? And, my main character's going, if you were looking for him, he's right here. That could be. Here's another option. Exact same setup. I had to make my outline of Wolverine thinner because my main character is thinner and I wanted to put him in this role. I left this character a girl because she's the love interest in books 5 through 17. 16. No, 17. All right, whatever it is. So basically, he's coming in. They're having a disagreement with something. She grabs him on the shoulder, turns him around, says, "By the way, the next time I talk to you, take the mask off." Now, I don't know what they're talking about, but I know that's the last thing I want her to say to him in that page, because I think I can work up a conversation where she's upset at him about something or he's upset, and then she turns it on him and gets upset at him because, well, I've been married a long time, and that's how most arguments go. You start off upset, and then they just decide to get mad at you instead. All right, so there's two different spins on the same thing. You will notice I took the hand off Lynx's shoulder. Lynx is supposed to be one of the best assassins that ever walked the planet. So I don't see him comforting his friend by touching him on the shoulder. That might just set him off. But she definitely would be bold enough to put her hand on his shoulder. All right, so if you got to change things, you got to change things. If you don't want to use that page, you could do one of the fight scenes. You could do any of the pages that we have done so far. All right. So that's essentially what you guys are doing. Now, is it going to take a little while? Yeah, it's probably what we're doing this week. As you guys are going to draw it, you're going to clean up your pencil lines, you're going to shade it, and you're going to put something in the word bubbles so that these characters that you've drawn over the top of the shapes have a little scene acted out. All right. Is there any questions to any of that? All right, cool. Well, you guys got the rest of the class period to work on this. I will continue to work on these drawings myself, just so you have a better example to look at. And if you have any questions, either shout out or put them in the chat. I will be checking the chat every couple of minutes. All right. Cool. All right, guys, as you're doing this, remember, you are going to shade it. So if there are things you want to be solid black right off the bat that you're not going to change them or you're not going to throw a word bubble in front of, it may help you to do them as you're going. That way, everything else you shade will be lighter. Use it as kind of a reference point. That's usually pretty useful. Just saying. All right. Okay, so there's a couple of things I'm doing here. I'm changing up from the actual book, aside from hairstyle and character and that. This hand here seems awkward to me, and for whatever reason, the last time I drew it or sketched it out, I did not sketch it out. I put a bend in it. So I'm going to make it just disappear off the page here. I don't think that has to be something that needs to be there for the panel to work, or for it to get across the fact that they're talking about what lies behind the door that's already partially open. The partially open part's a little more disturbing to me, as to why that would be open. But even with that said, for this quick snippet of a story, you don't know where they are because there's no establishing shot. So it doesn't mean they're in some place strange outside of time. It just means that they are in a place that has doors. So you don't have to explain everything in your story, or your short. You just kind of have to imply that there's something going on, a discussion, a moment, maybe an argument, maybe not an argument. Really completely depends up to you and what you are doing with the characters. Now, I think every single one of the layouts were multiple characters. So, if you're doing a fight scene instead, you just got to figure out what these two people are fighting about. I don't know if they're making your mama jokes in the middle of their fight or what the deal is. Same thing with this one. The one that I think would probably be the most difficult is probably the one that was the easiest to draw, which would have been the Daredevil one, because you almost need a lot of narrative boxes and word bubbles or thought bubbles to explain what's going on in there. Because visually, he left you with clips, but it's the narration that makes that more interesting and more tangible. All right. Now, I'm okay with the face on 2 out of 4 of these. This one's still very underdrawn. This one, I am really missing something, and I need to go back and think a little harder on it, what it is. Kind of giving her a high forehead in this one. She's got a high forehead here. Not so much in this one, so maybe I have to make this a little higher if I'm going to be consistent. All right. There's also something slightly wrong about how I drew her nose at the 3/4 mark. I'm not ready to address that at this moment. My head's just not that far into the game at this second. So what I'm going to do is go back and do the stuff that I'm sure about, which is shading of the hair. I know she's going to be a brunette, for she has always been a brunette since I was in 7th grade, or it was 7th grade. A lot of these characters that I put in my book series go back a very, very long time. And in fact, the first chapter of the book series I wrote when I was a junior in high school. I didn't do much with it. I mean, I kept drawing the characters, but I didn't decide to write it down as a book and probably until the year 2000. All right. I'll stop that. Okay, that's about it for today. Work on this as much as you like. Well, that's not true. Work on this. Get it done. Give me something to grade. All right, stay out of trouble if you can't stay out of trouble. Don't get caught.